Part 67. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 661. Chapter 661 Demonic Soul Appears. Huh? Why are there no people there? As soon as they disappeared, the immortals who were watching were surprised. He's gone, I must have used a teleportation talisman. No. The person whose body was taken away is still there. Someone still found the immortal lying on the ground who had not yet woken up. A few people flew over first. As soon as they arrived, the immortal on the ground woke up, but he pressed his head, which was suffering from a headache. You? Someone asked. The immortal looked up at the immortals surrounding him. Knowing what the man meant by asking him, he shook his head and said, I was saved. Meaning that one's home has not been taken away. It's just that his soul was seriously injured and he really didn't want to say anything to these people, so he got up and flew towards Wangshen Mountain. There are many caves there, and he must retreat to heal his wounds immediately. The protagonists have all left, and the spectators have also dispersed. In the space, after Yuan told Mujukan what Shenhun said, she said, this matter is a bit urgent. Let's go talk to Dad first, and then go find the secret realm. Mujukan was still thinking about what Yuan said. He didn't say anything and just nodded to her. Yuan immediately arrived at the shrine, told Tianyan about the matter, and then said, Dad, my daughter will go find the secret realm first. Just be prepared. Tianyan nodded. He and Mujukan had the same reaction after hearing this. They were both silent, thinking about the demon soul. Demon souls, what kind of demon soul cannot be destroyed and needs to be sealed? Report. Just when Yuan was about to enter the space, there was a divine guard outside the shrine who was eager to report something. She stopped and listened to the report. Tianyan only waved his hand, and the divine guard appeared in front of him. Kowtow to the Lord God. No. Why is it so urgent? Tianyan frowned. The divine guard looked a little nervous and said, Lord God, the four great gods have just received a message that there are people in the divine world, the fairy world, and the spiritual world who have been attacked by the power of demons. Many people have been brutally murdered. The four great gods have rushed to the scene and asked the humble minister to report the news to the Lord God. Tianyan asked with a calm face, where are they all? Shinwei, northwest direction. Tianyan, the Lord God knows about it. You can go down. When you receive new news, please send a message directly to the Lord God. The divine guard raised his hand and said, Yes, Lord God. After saying that, he ducked out of the palace. Dad, are you going? Yuan asked. Tianyan shook his head, the four gods have gone, and Dad will be in charge. If Wei goes, be careful. Yuan nodded. Wire, mother is going with you. The father and daughter were talking, and Yao Ji came. That's fine, you and your daughter can go together. Tianyan didn't stop him this time and happily agreed. Okay, Dad, give me some blood-devouring demonic insects. Yuan suddenly remembered the blood-devouring demonic insects. They are not afraid of evil spirits. Tianyan nodded, waved his hand, and a jade token appeared in his hand, and then injected divine power. After a while, the jade token flashed with white light, and a light door appeared in front of them. There is a small world inside the door, and the blood-eating monster insects are flying and playing inside. Yuan found it rare to see such little cuties. She had never seen the blood-devouring monster insects so relaxed. In the space, they either eat or sleep. Of course, when they sleep, they are also practicing. At this time, Tianyan waved his hand, and all the blood-eating demonic insects flew out. When they saw that it was Yuan, they all flew towards her. Not one of them flew to Tianyana. Tianyan twitched his mouth. He had raised a bunch of little white-eyed wolves for so long, and none of them even came to kiss him. Dad, please keep some. Tianyan waved his hand. Okay, then after Yuan put the blood-eating monster insect and Yaoji into the space, she greeted Tianyan and entered the space. In the space, Yuan asked Xiaojia to go to the northwest of the god realm. Soon, Xiaojia was found. Yuan, Yaoji, and Mujukan came out and stood above a city. There is no one in the city, and there is still a faint evil spirit in the air. Yuan moved Arthur out, and it was the soul in his hand. As soon as the soul came out and breathed in the divine power, he immediately said happily, "Ah, God realm, I have returned to God realm." "Shut up, is it the devilish aura?" Yuan immediately stopped him. The soul came back to its senses after Yuan roared, and it sensed the demonic energy with its spiritual consciousness. This is it, this is the aura. When the soul sensed the demonic aura, its soul trembled. This was the instinctive fear of the demonic aura. Are you scared? Isn't this a good thing you did? Please take a look at the city. Yuan became angry when she saw its bear-like appearance. This demonic energy will bring great disaster to all worlds. Shenhun knew that she was wrong and did not dare to say anything. It wanted Yuan to let it go, but it swallowed the words as soon as it reached its lips. Walking in the divine world as a divine soul was possible before, but now that the demonic soul appears, it dare not. What the demon soul likes most is to devour the divine soul. Yuan knew what it was thinking and had no intention of letting it go, so she took the soul into the space. "Mom, Mujukan, let's catch up and take a look." Yaoji nodded. She had just released her spiritual consciousness to track it. She knew where the demon soul had gone. She immediately picked up her daughter and son-in-law and chased after him. Before they arrived, the three of them saw the man of God running around and stopped immediately. "Waiter, Jukan, you two go over there together, mother, go over here, and we'll trap it," Yaoji said quickly when she saw the gods flying out and then falling down. "Okay, mother, be careful." Yuan responded and immediately pulled Mujukan to fly over the city. This city is not small, and the sky above the entire city is filled with thick demonic aura, and gods and men fly out from the demonic aura from time to time. Most of the gods who flew out had distorted faces. Their faces were sometimes black and sometimes red. They had obviously been corroded by demonic energy. Mujukan burst into flames, and with a wave of his hand, he threw the Nanming Liwo towards the demonic energy above the city. Yuan also wielded the blood-eating monster insects. At the same time, they flew to the sky above the city and launched a star formation. These gods and men who were corrupted by the demonic energy would not be able to save their lives if they escaped, and they could also harm other gods and men. The soul of the devil can be transformed into thousands of threads, invading the sea of consciousness of the and slowly swallowing the soul of the god, or the demonic energy can corrode the soul of the god, turning him into a devil. The former consumes the divine souls of gods to strengthen the souls of demons, which is used as training. In the latter case, the gods who have been assimilated into the devil have no consciousness of their own and are completely controlled by the devil. They can do whatever they are told and become the devil's puppet. Both situations are very disastrous for god-men, especially the former, which is irreversible. Within a dozen breaths, Yuan had arranged the star formation, and the city was enveloped by the star formation. "Let's go over and have a look." Mujukan nodded and flew towards the city. The situation in the city was appalling. Most of the buildings in the city were destroyed. The gods who were corrupted by the evil spirit attacked the city indiscriminately. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 662. Chapter 662 Demon God. Yuan frowned. These gods could not be saved. For gods and men whose souls have been eroded by demonic energy, only by removing the demonic aura from their souls can they recover. Otherwise, they will soon become the same as demons. "Wan'er, be careful, I'm going to check on the Nanming Liwo." Mujukan noticed that after his Nanming Liwo burned some of the demonic energy, he seemed to have caught up with something. He thought it was the demonic soul. Well, you should be careful. Yuan looked at the crazy half-demon people everywhere. Yes, they were in the state of half-demon now. If so many people get rid of the demonic energy in their consciousness, they will all become demons in a short time. And if so many demons are not eliminated, they will harm more people. Her star formation cannot always be here to trap them. What is she trying to do to extinguish this evil spirit? Boom! An attack struck Yuan. Yuan was thinking of a solution when she was attacked by a crazy half-demon who knocked her into the formation. Yuan reacted, and with a flash of consciousness, she had already moved away, avoiding another attack. Yuan glanced at the divine clothes on her body, dusted them off, waved her hand, and threw them out of the soul tree. When the soul tree came out, it seemed manic and restless when it encountered the demonic energy. The whole tree was shaking. When Yuan saw this, she knew that the soul tree could not absorb the demonic energy. There is still harm to it. Yuan had no choice but to go to Yaoji to have a look. On the other side, in front of Yaoji, a demon with black hair and black robes who was more than 10 feet tall looked down at Yaoji. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect that there is a with such a powerful soul. The demon looked at Yaoji greedily with his deep eyes. The goddess soul was so strong that if he could devour it, half of his cultivation would be restored. It's a pity that after fighting her for so long, he just couldn't enter her sea of consciousness. Yaoji glanced at him. This demon was just a Taoist soul, but this soul was so powerful. Her divine cultivation was not an advantage in front of him. If Wei or Star Array hadn't trapped him, he has escaped. Mother, don't move, I'll attack him with Nanming Liwo. Mujukan, who was invisible, sent a message to Yaoji. Yaoji heard it, and after the message came back, she still looked at the devil. If you don't stay here properly, you come to the God realm to harm people. Today the Japanese goddess will destroy you. In the God realm, there are gods and demons. Since ancient times, gods and demons have been distinct. If you don't offend me, I won't offend you. I just don't know why this demon soul comes to the gods to harm the gods. Haha, that's not a small statement. I have been sealed by your gods for so many years. I finally got out, so I have to collect some interest. Yaoji listened to what he said. She was not in this world, and she had no idea how the demon could be sealed by the god. But no matter what, the would not seal the demon for no reason. He must have done something outrageous. Yaoji sarcastically said, if you stay in your territory honestly and don't cause trouble, how can we God seal you? It's just sealed you without destroying you. You are not grateful to date, and you have come to make a wave. How can you not leave you today? Come on then, do you think this demon will be afraid of you gods? Two purple flames danced in the demon's eyes, as if they were about to jump out. Just when the demon raised a black giant sword with both hands and attacked Yaoji, a flame suddenly appeared from behind him and made him tremble. Bah! The flame turned into a giant red bird, raised its head and screamed sharply, and rushed towards the devil. It seemed as if it was about to swallow the devil whole. The demon was shocked. It was Nanming Liwo who had chased him once before. He became so angry that even a little immortal dared to attack him. He quickly withdrew his attack on Yaoji and turned to face Nanming Liwo. Ah! The arrogant demon god screamed and immediately turned into a stream of demonic energy and disappeared into the formation. He didn't know where he was hiding. He thought he could fight against Nanming Liwo, but he didn't expect that Nanming Liwo was already a divine fire. If that dead boy was also a man of God, his divided soul would be gone. Mujukan took back Nanming Liwo and showed up. This time it failed again. This demon was too cunning and couldn't defeat Nanming Liwo, so he hid. However, even if he hides, they can find him. Mother, Mujukan. Yuan saw the scene just now. She saw the demon instantly transform into a stream of demonic energy and disappear into the ground. The two of them nodded towards her. Wire, why don't you just send all the people here to the space and lock them up, and then we will find them and you can take them in together. Yao Ji sent a message. They would play hide and seek with him like this until the end of time. Can't hurt him. He will swallow the souls of these gods later, and it will be even harder to catch him. Yuan thought about it. She just looked at the blood-devouring demonic insects and there was nothing she could do against this demon. This demon soul is actually a demon god, and the strength of a split soul cannot be underestimated. They tried their best to deal with him, so they could only use space to solve the problem. She immediately flashed into the space, placed multiple restrictions in the space, and then received the crazy half-demon into the space. The demon god, who was hiding underground and melting into the soil, saw those people disappearing out of thin air, and he looked at the empty city in confusion. Come out. While he was lost in thought, Yao Ji's divine eyes spotted him, and at the same time, a glazed clear heart fire attacked where he was. Boom! As the Liuli King's in fire exploded, a black mist emerged from the ground, and instantly turned into the man in black who was more than 10 feet tall. In the midst of lightning and flint, countless hair-like black threads shot out from the palm of the demon god, attacking the two of them overwhelmingly. He is also angry. The worst is that we will all die together. As soon as Yuan, who was in the space, saw the demon appear, she moved her consciousness to receive the demon into the space. The demon was suddenly captured and moved to another place. He was not panicked at all, and looked at the place carefully. Yuan ignored him for the time being, stepped out of the space, and collected the star formation, Yaoji, Mujukan, and the blood-eating monster insects before going to deal with the demon god. It's quite harmful. In just a moment, the demon actually escaped from the restriction and wandered around in Yuan's space. It's like strolling through your own back garden, not like a prisoner at all. That's right, regardless of who this demon is, you, a little immortal, still want to trap this demon with your restrictions. This demon advises you to surrender to this demon god, and this demon will spare your lives for the sake of your space. The demon god took over Yuan's words with great energy and spoke calmly. Yuan almost laughed out loud and looked at him like an idiot. Surrender? Are you mentally ill? How confident are you in persuading me to surrender in my territory? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 663. Chapter 663, Ways to Destroy the Demon God. The demon was angry and struck at Yuan. This female fairy was so ignorant that he, a majestic demon, was despised by a little fairy. So what if he is in her dimension? Is it possible that she can destroy him with her useless cultivation? It's really ridiculous. The devil can be destroyed. Why did the God-man only seal him indestructible back then? The reason is, of course, that their demons cannot be destroyed at all, unless the Nanming Luo just reached the highest level. It would take that little fire to reach the highest level, but I don't know how many years it would take. But by that time, with the treasure in this space, he had already recovered his cultivation level. He could be slightly hurt before because his current cultivation level is only 1% of what it was before. As long as all the souls are strong and united, no one in the world can do anything to him. At that time, it was not his world. The world will become the territory of their demon world. Ruled by other demons. Ha ha ha. Thinking of the prosperous times at that time, the devil laughed wildly in his heart. Just as he was laughing wildly, a black ball of light had already rushed toward Yuan. He wanted to seize this artifact space today. Yuan had a gloomy face. This demon was really arrogant. When she saw the ball of light coming towards her, her consciousness moved, and 108 star flags flew out, forming an array instantly. At the same time, a restriction flew out, cover the black ball of light. Buzz with a buzz, the star formation was activated, covering the demon and her in the formation. When the demon god saw this big formation again, his expression changed. He thought that the big formation was set up by the goddess, but it turned out to be the little fairy. This time it was going to be even worse. He had been unable to escape from this formation before, and now it was happening again. The demon is not willing to give in and does not believe in evil. There is still something that his demonic energy cannot corrode. So the demon god slammed into the formation with all his strength, trying to corrode the formation with demonic energy, but the formation did not even shake. Standing there motionless, his demonic energy had no effect on the formation at all. At this moment, Yuan's consciousness moved and she sent the ball of light out of the formation. On a mountain in the space, she placed the ball of light down and let the space slowly swallow it. The space swallowed up this small amount of demonic energy, so she took the risk to bring all the half-demon outside into the space and let the space purify the demonic energy on them. She originally used the star formation to trap those half-demon people inside, just to prevent them from waking up and discovering her space. But the demon wants to cause trouble and wants to kill her, so he must be eliminated first. Yuan's consciousness moved, and the original trapped formation instantly transformed into a killing formation. Suddenly the scene in the space changed, the clear space suddenly turned gray, and countless wind blades flew towards the demon god. The demon was still hitting the formation with all his strength, when suddenly he saw a wind blade slashing at him, and he turned into a black smoke without hesitation. The wind blade with star power immediately cut the black smoke into countless small black smoke. The demon god felt as if his body had been cut into countless pieces at this moment. He wanted to gather it back together, but he couldn't. Seeing this, Yuan had an idea. With a wave of her hand, she moved Mujukan into the formation and said to him, "Quickly release your flames. Haven't been able to find a way to eliminate this demon." When Yuan saw the wisps of demonic energy, she thought of Mujukan's Nanming Liwo. The demon god was too strong before, but now, let's see if Nanming Liwo can burn it. If you can, burn the demonic energy here, then do you still have to work hard to fight the demon god? Just use this method to get rid of the devil directly. Mujukan couldn't see what was going on in the formation, but he immediately released Nanming Liwo. Yuan pinched her hands and scolded Nanming Liwo, "Go." Nanming Liwo was sent to the devil by her. The wind blade there also stopped instantly. If it doesn't stop, Nanming Liwo will also be sliced by the wind blade. Nanming Liwo hated the sight of such demonic aura, so he immediately rushed forward to burn the demonic aura that was split by the wind blade. The entire demon body Nanming Liwo has no power to burn, but these tiny strands of demonic energy are still fine. Within a short time, these evil spirits were burned away by Nanming Liwo. Yuan was overjoyed when she saw that the demon could be destroyed like this. She hugged Mujukan, kissed him on the face, and said with a smile, "Mujukan, the demon has been destroyed." "Real?" "Well, really, the demon turned into demonic energy, and the demonic energy was split by the wind blade with the power of the stars, split into small filaments of demonic energy, and the Nanming Liwo can burn it." Mujukan felt very good after hearing this, and said, "Wan'er, please quickly collect the demonic energy from other places in the god realm, as well as the fairy world, and the spiritual world. Such a difficult evil spirit is causing great disasters to all walks of life." Okay, Yuan also knew that the situation was urgent and quickly asked Xiaojia to find other demon souls. At the same time, the sky above all parts of the fairy world was shrouded in demonic energy. The demon looked at the crazy immortals and felt indescribably comfortable. He just likes this, turning the fairy world into a demon world, a paradise for demons, and turning people in all worlds into demons. The demon god has no interest in the souls of immortals. They are too weak and would be useless to swallow. If you want to devour it, you have to devour the soul of a god. Only then can it be delicious. In Fengming City, Yu Heiran and his party watched helplessly as the demonic energy invaded and the immortals turned into demons. Members of several of their families have become demons one after another. His child, Mr. Li, has become a demon. His soul is protected by divine energy, so he has not yet transformed into a demon. But I can't hold on for long. Brother, let's give up, Yu Hao said with great sadness and tears as he watched Wu become a demon after being demonized, and he attacked the non-demonized people together with other demonized demons. Okay, Yu Heiran put away the artifact in the sea of consciousness and allowed the demonic energy to soak into his sea of consciousness. At the beginning, the brothers often went out for training, so Yuan Ke gave each of them a soul-protecting artifact. But others have not. Now they are all demonized. If they do not become demons, they will be hacked to death by demonized people. Instead of doing this, it is better to become a demon together. They don't expect Yuan to come to save them, even if he saves them, it will be useless. The brothers looked at the sky. Within a moment, their faces turned black and filled with black energy. Then mechanically integrated into the demon, rushing in all directions, joining the demons hacking and killing. In the god realm, Yuan finally received another divided soul from a demon god, and was thinking of looking for the next one. Suddenly, her heart felt as if someone had pinched her, and the pain was unbearable. Yuan was startled. Could it be that something happened to her father? She covered her chest and asked Xiaojia to find the shrine. When she looked inside, Tianyan was busy in the shrine. If it's not her father, then he's from the fairy world. Small world, return to the fairy world. Yuan immediately told Xiaojia that people in the god realm can still compete with the devil for the time being, but people in the immortal realm cannot. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 664. Chapter 664 Meet the Demon God. When Yuan stood above Fengming City, she was extremely upset. How could she forget Yu Heiran and the others? Looking at the howling demons in the city, Yuan thought that Yu Heiran and the others must have become demons. Fortunately, this demon did not swallow up the souls of the immortals, and they were still saved. She is probably the soul of the demon who looks down on the immortal. With so many people, Yuan really couldn't move them all into the space, so she had to look for them in the crowd. Looking around, she saw a demonic aura, and she had become a demon, and she couldn't tell who was who. Yuan bit her lip, and she ducked into the space, looking for the demon soul outside the boundary door. Looking for it this way is not a solution. I have to think of new ways to search later. At present, the most important thing is to eliminate the root of the demon soul first. If it is not eliminated, the fairy world will really turn into a demon world. At this moment, the demon ran almost half of the fairy world before he was caught by Yuan and was thrown directly into the star formation, allowing Mujukan to destroy the demon god. She also has a division of labor. She leaves the star array to Mujukan to control, specializing in destroying the demon's split soul. Yaoji and Liangbao finished their training and helped Yaoji look at the half-demon beings in the space. Mr. Mu Niangzhen, and Xiaosong, the three of them patrolled the space, looking for demonic energy emerging from anywhere. If there was any, it would definitely be swallowed up by the space before looking for the next target. Little Snake, Xiaoqing, Dehei, and Jin Long were afraid of the evil spirit, so Yuan asked them to stay at Hun Mountain and call them only if something happened. The blood-eating demonic insects are on standby. No, as long as Yuan sees places that are damaged by the evil energy, he will release them and absorb the evil energy. Xiao Zi was left in the god realm by her, specializing in burning demonic energy. Although it was not as harmful as Nanming Liwo, it could still burn the demonic energy scattered in the god realm. How to say it, it is also a divine fire. Yuan quickly searched the fairy world again. After there were no ghosts of the devil, he searched in all the spiritual worlds. The spiritual world and the small world are not as lucky as the fairy world and the divine world. Basically, there is no intact world, and it is considered a real demon world. The whole world is filled with demonic energy, without any aura, and all the people in the spiritual world have become demons. Yuan sighed. She didn't expect this demon to be so powerful. Even if these worlds are saved in the future, there will not be many worlds in the big world. After that, Yuan captured the demon souls from all realms and returned to the space. But 1 year has passed. In the space, Yuan sat in the practice room and meditated for a while before going to see Yaoji. This year I have been searching for one, and no matter how strong my consciousness is, I will get tired. Wire, these people have recovered, let's move them out first, Yaoji said. These recovered people, Yaoji put them into a comatose state to prevent them from discovering where this place is. Yuan nodded. It was time to go back and see how the God realm was doing. 1 year had passed, and I hoped the situation wouldn't be too bad. There are also Yuhairan and others from the immortal realm. At this moment in the fairy world, a war between immortals and demons has already broken out, with numerous casualties on both sides. Fortunately, with the existence of the blood-devouring demonic insects, the demonic energy in the fairy world has not spread out and is getting thinner day by day. Moreover, all the demons who died in the battle were devoured by the blood-devouring demonic insects. This is Yuan's order to Xiao 11. If they don't devour them, the demons will devour them. In that case, the demons will definitely explode in strength in a short period of time. At that time, the immortals will not be able to compete with them. The world of time immortal will become a real world of demons. Yuan didn't have time to go to the fairy world to see what was going on, so she immediately came outside the divine palace, removed the gods and men, and placed them in a safe place. After Yaoji cured them of the magic, the mother and daughter returned to the fairy world. Palace. In the divine palace, Tianyan is one head and too big, and the demon is too powerful. Even if he goes up against the demon in person, he can't even defeat him. It took all the power of the God realm to save 1/3 of the territory from being demonized. Now it seems that this 1/3 of the territory cannot be saved. Tianyan. As soon as the mother and daughter appeared in the shrine, Yaoji flew towards Tianyan, who was pacing in the house. It's great that you are back. Tianyan hugged Yaoji and couldn't control himself with excitement. In fact, he could have ignored this world, but as the main of this world, he must take care of it. When my daughter comes back, the world of gods will be saved. Dad, has the demon merged? Yuan asked. He had just entered the divine realm, and the demonic energy from the divine realm was even outside the divine palace. Tianyan let go of Yaoji, nodded and said, it's integrated, now it's very strong, and Dad is no match for him. This is so, it's very difficult. Yuan frowned. Dad, lure him here, and my daughter will use the star array to deal with him. Yuan couldn't control that much, so he had to capture the devil first. Tianyan, okay, let's go and take your mother into the space. Husband, I will go with you and not enter Weir space. Yaoji immediately refused. She was worried about their father and daughter. It took them a lot of effort to destroy just the divided soul of the demon god. How powerful the fused demon must be. Don't worry, I'm here. Tianyan patted her and winked at Yuan. Mom, don't worry, we have to hurry, we don't have time to delay. Yuan walked over and took Yaoji's hand. Yaoji looked at the father and daughter with anxious eyes. She could not resist the pleading eyes of the father and daughter, and was defeated. She said, no matter what, it is important to save your life. She can't control other people's lives. Within her ability, she won't stand idly by if she can save them, but she has to take care of the lives of their father and daughter, and she has to take care of them well. Tianyan and his daughter nodded in assurance, and Yuan Ke received her into the space. Huh, your mother is so difficult to coax, Tian Yan breathed. Yuan is funny. Her mother doesn't need to be coaxed. As long as the father and daughter pretend to be pitiful, her mother will definitely be defeated. Let's go. Tian Yan glanced at Yuan, picked her up and disappeared into the temple. When they appeared, the father and daughter were standing on a giant peak. As soon as they stood up, several black figures surrounded their father and daughter. Ha ha ha, Lord God, are you okay? Then a 10-foot-tall black giant appeared in front of them. At the same time, Yuan's star formation flew away. Humph. The little girl is very courageous. The demon god waved his hand and hit the star flag with several rays of magic power. Arrogant, Tian Yan simultaneously wielded several rays of divine power to disperse the magic power, and immediately flew out to fight with the demon god. He had to hold the demon god up to prevent him from destroying the star formation. The other 9 demon guards saw the demon and the main fighting, and they immediately attacked Yuan. Yuan immediately became invisible and stepped up under her feet to avoid the attack. At the same time, 108 star stones flew towards the formation flag. Stop. The demon gods who are fighting can also use their minds to give orders. Sure enough, the 9 demon guards fired their magic power at the star stone. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 665. Chapter 665. The demon is arrested. Yuan's heart tightened when she saw the 8 people attacking the formation flag. Except for Arthur, who was a god, no one else in the space could defeat these 8 people. Arthur came out with 1 to 8. Yuan regretted not keeping a few blood-devouring monster insects, so she had no choice but to move Arthur out. At the same time, Yuan sent 8 soul thorns to 8 people. No matter whether it was useless or not, it would block a breath of time. As long as the star array is successfully deployed. She had no choice. The situation had changed. She originally thought that there was only the demon god, but unexpectedly there were 8 more demon guards who were the same as Yaoji. Now she could only try to set up a star formation outside. Sure enough, the 8 soul thorns caused the 8 demon guards to pause for a while. Arthur saw this opportunity and swung 2 fists at the 2 demon guards. The 8 demon guards are the demonized gods who were taken in by the demon in the god realm. Among them, the lowest cultivation level is also the god. Arthur's attack is like tickling them, and it does not affect them at all from attacking the star flag. Instead, he was punched out of the mountain by the demon guard. He didn't know whether he would live or die. Yuan holds her for it. Arthur and her soul thorn were of little use, as the 8 demon guards were about to attack the star banner. Yuan gritted her teeth and immediately moved Yaoji and Mujukan out. The 2 of them were in the space and had seen everything outside. They had been anxious for a long time, but without Yuan, they couldn't get out. At this critical moment, Yuan finally moved the 2 of them out. As soon as the 2 came out, Yaoji was the first to send soul stabs at the 8 demon guards. Her soul stabs were much more harmful than Yuan's, and the 8 demon guards had to stop their attacks to deal with the soul stabs. Mujukan directly used Nanming Liwo to attack the demon guards. Although it could not cause any actual harm to them, it could distract them and buy time for Yuan to set up the star formation. As long as the star formation is successfully deployed, aren't the demon gods and demon guards trapped in the formation? Will they still be arrogant at that time? It's a pity that Yaoji and Mujukan only had 2 breaths of time to fend off the attacks of Yaoji and Nanming Liwo. The 8 demon guards had already struck out a palm and headed towards the star stone. 8 subtle sounds sounded, and the 8 star stones shattered into powder and dissipated in the air. Seeing this, Yuan's consciousness moved, and 108 star flags changed their shapes. 54 star flags quickly separated and shot toward the demon guard at lightning speed. At the same time, countless star stones flew towards the 108 star flags. Before the star flag could fly, it was shot away by the demon guard. Yuan could only watch the star flag fly out. She stayed for a breath. After being shot away like this, can the star flag still be intact? Yuan's eyes tightened. She glanced at the scene. Yaoji and Mujukan were simply relying on the divine clothes for support. Only the demon god and Tianyan are actually fighting, but it is obvious that Tianyan is also struggling. Boom! Yuan, who was lost in thought, received a solid blow and immediately knocked her away. At the same time, she saw that all the other star flags were blown away, and not a single one of the 108 star flags was left. Yuan's consciousness moved and she entered the space. Xiaja, go to the fairy world and look for the blood-eating monster insect. As soon as he entered the space, Yuan immediately ordered Xiaja. Only by retrieving the blood-eating demonic insects and letting them entangle the demon guards, can she have a chance to find the star flag. She shouldn't have arranged the star flags outside before, she should have captured them all in the space. It was also because she saw so many demon guards that she had no other choice for a while. It can only be said that the plan could not keep up with the changes, and she and Tianyan never thought that the demon would actually capture a demonized to serve as a demon guard. Xiaja arrived at the fairy world in a few breaths and found the blood-eating demonic insects. Fortunately, they were not scattered and were all gathered together. Yuan immediately put them away and returned to the god realm. However, when she came back, Yaoji and Mujukan were missing. Only Tianyan was being beaten by the demon. The 8 demon guards stood aside. Yuan couldn't take care of Sunyaji and Mujukan. At most, they would be shot away by the demon guards, but their lives could not be hurt. Thinking of this, Yuan quickly removed the blood-eating monster insect. As soon as more than 600 blood-eating demonic insects came out, they immediately expanded their bodies and opened their mouths to in the demon guards and demon gods. In the eyes of the blood-devouring demonic insects, these high-level demons are the delicacies of the world, and they pounced on them without waiting for Yuan's order. And half of the blood-eating demonic insects pounced on the demon god. The demon god was proud of himself, but what about the Lord God? He was pressing him to the ground and rubbing him. It's a pity that this man is wearing who knows what kind of divine clothes. No matter how much he tortures him, he can't be tortured to death. At best, swat him here and there like a fly. Just when he was getting carried away, a large group of strange beasts pounced on him. He had no choice but to abandon Tianyan and turn his head to face the blood-devouring demonic insects. Seeing so many divine beasts who are not afraid of demonic energy, the demon still took a breath. These weird beasts don't seem to be very tall, but there are many of them. As long as he doesn't pay attention, he will be bitten by the weird beasts. The demon had to go all out to deal with the blood-eating demonic insects, and he couldn't care less about whether he was the or not. Tianyan finally breathed a sigh of relief. He opened his eyes and looked for his wife and son-in-law. Previously, he saw them being photographed by the demon guards. Fortunately, he had refined a lot of divine clothes before, and the main materials of these divine clothes were divine crystals. Otherwise, with the strength of the demon guards, both of them would have died hundreds of times. After Yuan threw out the blood-eating monster insect, she dodged into the space and used the world gate to look for the star flag. Yuan breathed a sigh of relief when the star flags were recovered. Fortunately, there are fewer gods and more demons in the god realm. I am not interested in the star flags and have not lost any of them. She took a look at the battlefield outside. There were blood-eating monsters pestering the demon and demon guards. Sure enough, the situation had turned around. The demon god is relatively good and can deal with the blood-devouring demonic insects, but the demon guards are not so good. They can only parry when attacked by the blood-devouring demonic insects. Yuan snorted coldly in her heart. She quickly set up a star formation in the space, then entered the formation and faced the 8 demon guards. The demon guards who were fighting the blood-eating demonic insects suddenly saw that they had changed places, and immediately stopped and looked around. Yuang didn't care what they were looking at, he just wanted to break through the star array and dream. Her consciousness quickly locked onto the demon god, and she also took him into the star formation. He was not polite to demon god Yuan, and immediately turned the formation into a killing formation. In the large formation, all kinds of killing moves were immediately launched towards the demon god. The demon was horrified. What kind of ghost place is this? The wind blade, fireball, thunder, and lightning, these are not the divine power and magic he is familiar with, but the power of the stars. As for the power of the stars, as the main of the demon clan, how can the demon god not know what it is? That is an indispensable force that exists everywhere in the universe. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 666. Chapter 666 10,000 Buddha Statues. In all the worlds, there can be no divine power, no magic, and the power of the stars. As long as there is a place where the star can shine, there is the power of the star. And the power of the stars is not something that everyone can absorb and practice. Only special star bodies can do it, or special techniques. The devil knew that he had kicked an iron plate today. In the past, the gods could catch him, but they could not destroy him. The reason was that they all used divine power, and no one used the power of the stars or the power of chaos. They demons are not afraid of divine power, but they are afraid of the power of the stars and the divine power of chaos. Those two powers are the nemesis of magic and divine power. Yuan glanced at the demon in the formation and let out a heavy breath. Finally caught this guy. Just this black thing, which was taller than Arthur, destroyed a fifth of the Baisha realm. With his own power, it can be seen that the demons have suffered a lot. Yuan took a breath, stepped out of the space, opened her eyes, and looked at where Tianyan and the others were. Not long after, Tianyan and his party came back, including Arthur. When Arthur saw Yuan, he scratched his head in embarrassment. He was too weak. He was knocked to the edge of the sky with one punch and was seriously injured. Yuan only glanced at him, then looked at Yaoji and Mujukan who were intact. "Wire, has the demon been taken in?" Yaoji asked. "In space, parents, let's go back first," Yuan nodded. "The devil has caught him, and there are more things to come. The world needs to be restored, and the first step is to get rid of the evil spirits. This is a big project. Okay, let's go back." Yuan waved her hand to collect the people and blood-eating demonic insects into the space, and then returned to the palace. In the shrine, Tianyan and Yaoji set out to restore the divine realm, while Yuan and Mujukan also checked the jade slips in the space to see if there was anything that could quickly absorb the evil energy. Later, Liangbao and Mr. Mu went to help check it out, and Yuan simply came out and came to the star formation. At this time, the demon god was already languishing and seriously injured under the attack of various divine spells. The demon god knows very well that he cannot turn into demon energy, otherwise he will die faster. So he has been struggling to support himself. When Yuan appeared, he did not beg for mercy and continued to fight against the magic. He, a demon god, also has dignity. Even if he dies, he will die standing up. Yuan curled her lips at him, not sympathizing with him, and he deserved his death. When you come out, you go back to the demon world and become your demon god. Then you come to the human world and mess around. You really think you are invincible? Haven't been defeated by her star array. Yuan waved her hand and increased the intensity of the attack, not giving the demon god a chance to breathe. Kill him as soon as possible, don't worry. As long as the devil is not eliminated, everyone will be in trouble. Yuan did not let go of the other 8 demon guards. These 8 people cannot be kept. Their sea of consciousness has the mark of the devil's soul. If they are not removed, the devil may use that trace of soul to resurrect. After the 8 people were cut into pieces, Yuan asked Mujukan to throw them out of the Nanmingli fire and burn them all. Once the 8 demon guards are eliminated, only the demon is left as a big hidden danger. Mujukan, have you found a way to extinguish the demonic energy? Mujukan shook his head and said, I looked through ancient books, and there is a jade slip that records that in ancient times there was a statue of 10,000 Buddhas in the 10,000 Buddhas temple. This statue of 10,000 Buddhas is a sacred weapon that can control all evil spirits and even demonic spirits in the world. All have a purifying effect. It's just that these 10,000 Buddha statues were missing in the catastrophe at 10,000 Buddha's temple. 10,000 Buddha's temple, where is the 10,000 Buddha's temple? Yuan was talking about 10,000 Buddha's temple. She had heard of this name but forgot where she saw it. Mujukan shook his head, I don't know, there is no record of where it is on the jade slip, but the jade slip was obtained in Tianxia realm, so it must be in Tianxia realm. By the way, it should be in Tianxia realm. Yuan slapped her thigh, and she suddenly remembered that she had talked with Furong once. She and Yaoju never had a child, so Yuan joked with her that she would pay homage to Guanyin to send her son. At that time, Furong still laughed at her, saying that there was no such thing as Guanyin in the immortal world. There was a 10,000 Buddhist temple in the western immortal realm, but it was the territory of Buddhist cultivators, and outsiders could not go in even if they wanted to. There are 10,000 Buddhist temples in the immortal world, and there are also temples in the divine world. The 10,000 Buddhist temple in the immortal realm is still there, so the destroyed 10,000 Buddhist temple must have belonged to the divine realm. Want to have a look? Let's have a look. If we can find the 10,000 Buddha statue, Baisha realm will be saved. Another way is that the person who untie the bell also needs the person who tied the bell, that is, let the demon collect the demonic energy. But that is impossible. But the evil spirit must be eliminated, because Yu Heiran and the others are all in the fairy world. The blood-devouring demonic insects have been in the fairy world for a year, but they did not recognize any of them. I don't know whether they are alive or dead. The quick solution to the problem is to find those 10,000 Buddha statues. So, Yuan decided to go to Tianxia realm. As for Tianya and Mingao, she believed that her luck was not that bad. She could meet such a big god realm as soon as she went there. However, nothing is absolute. With their strength, they can still monitor the entire god realm. She just needs to be prepared. Yuan didn't plan to tell Tianyan and Yaoji. They didn't know how worried they would be if they found out. However, before going there, she had to practice in seclusion and improve her cultivation. The cultivation level of the immortal sect in the middle stage of the god realm is really low. Mujukan knew what Yuan had decided, and he couldn't stop her, so he had to help her. After talking to her about the specific matters, they both went to retreat. 100 years of space have passed by in a hurry. On this day, Yuan opened her eyes and let out a long breath. In 100 years, her cultivation level was promoted to the great perfection of the immortal sect. She is very satisfied with her cultivation, which is very solid and not frivolous at all. Yuan performed a cleansing operation on her body, and her consciousness suddenly came to the formation. The demon was still struggling to hold on. However, his body was covered with cuts and bruises, and his body that was originally more than 10 feet tall was now about the same as an ordinary person's. The strength has been greatly reduced. Seeing Yuan appear, he roared. Yuan Dang didn't see it. Mujukan's Nanming Luo was still in the formation. Yuan moved her consciousness and isolated the demon, allowing Nanming Luo to burn all the demonic energy in that space. Let me go. Just when Yuan was about to leave the formation, the demon begged for mercy. 100 years of torture finally wore him out of his temper. Dignity and other things are just clouds, and living is the right way. Especially when he saw Yuan burning the demonic energy, he became more and more determined to live. Yuan turned around and looked at him with disdain. Can you restore the world? Cannot. Because he no longer has that strength. Yuan spread her hands. Then what use do you have? After saying that, she dodged out of the star formation. Not long after, the demons in the formation completely dissipated in the world. Yuan took over the star formation, which costs star stones. After using it for so long, the stock of star stones was running low. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 667. Chapter 667 Ruins of 10,000 Buddhist Temple. Tianxia Realm, the Western Immortal Realm, in an endless desert. Yuan looked around and saw that it was indeed endless. This is the former site of the 10,000 Buddhist temple that disappeared overnight in ancient times. In Tianxia Realm, there are records in the miscellaneous talks sold in many jade slip shops. The former site of Wanfo Temple is in the endless desert of the Western Immortal Realm. The endless desert, as its name suggests, is boundless and has no end. Of course, this is just an abstract statement. The God realm has an end. This desert accounts for at most 5% of the God realm. At this time, Yuan moved Mujukan out. Waner Mujukan put his arms around her. This is the former site of 10,000 Buddhist temple. Yuan smiled at him and held his hand tightly. Oh? Let's go in and have a look. Mujukan was a little surprised. The former site of Wanfo Temple turned into a desert. In this case, it would be difficult to find Wanfo Temple. Okay, we're here, we have to see what happens. Yuan nodded. In fact, when she saw this desert, she had already given up hope. But you've come, you can't go in vain. The two of them became invisible at the same time, holding hands and quickly flying away into the middle of the desert. The seemingly peaceful desert is actually extremely dangerous. The two of them can avoid many unnecessary troubles by flying invisibly. Let's just say that Ming Ao noticed it the moment Yuan stepped into this continent. He immediately followed them, staying far behind the two. He heard their conversation and knew that they seemed to be looking for the 10,000 Buddhist temple. About the 10,000 Buddhist temple, he had heard about it as early as the time he was born. It is said that in ancient times, in the world of immortality, Buddhism was very popular at that time, and it even outweighed the trend of Taoism. The Main at that time was very angry. If this continues, from now on, this world of gods will regard Buddha as the most respected and the main one. There were bald donkeys with bare heads and monks' robes everywhere, and the Lord God felt uncomfortable when he saw them. And the Buddhist cultivators also wantonly instigated and promoted the boundless dharma of Buddhist cultivation, so that people would practice Buddhist techniques. Moreover, in the subsequent battle between gods and demons, the Buddhist cultivators experienced great harm, and their kung fu techniques were indeed the nemesis of the demons. The Buddhist cultivators shone so brilliantly in that battle that many gods and men really gave up on their successful kung fu techniques, abandoned his kung fu and went to practice Buddhism. For a time, Buddhist cultivation overshadowed Taoism. The world of immortal cultivation has always been dominated by Taoist cultivation. Not only is the Main displeased with it, but the Tiandao sect can't sit still. So, on a windy and dark night, the Tiandao sect came out with 10 emperors and destroyed the 10,000 Buddhist temple overnight. From then on, the 10,000 Buddhist temple disappeared in the world of gods. Today, these two little devils came here to look for the 10,000 Buddhist temple, which really made him curious. It is said that the 10,000 Buddhist temple was destroyed and countless Buddhist cultivators were killed, but the 10,000 Buddhist temple and the 10,000 Buddhist statues enshrined in the 10,000 Buddhist temple disappeared. 10,000 Buddhist temple and 10,000 Buddhist statue are actually the best artifacts, refined by Wanfo, the first generation of Buddhas in 10,000 Buddhist temple. There were different opinions later. Some people said that the two top quality artifacts were destroyed along with the battle, while others said that the two artifacts were taken away by the artifact spirits. As for how it is, no one knows. There is nothing wrong with him being the leader of the Tiandao sect, but only the ancestors of the Tiandao sect know the specific situation. Except for the person involved, no one else knows about what happened at that time. It is considered a well-known secret. The battle at 10,000 Buddhist temple was very tragic, and the 10 ancestors also paid a heavy price, with 6 injured and 4 dead. The 6 injured ancestors have been in seclusion in Tiandao sect's sacred place since that battle, and have never left the sacred place. The 4 dead ancestors have not yet reincarnated and returned, and the 4 divine thrones are now empty. Ming Ao was actually very curious about what happened at that time, especially the 10,000 Buddha temple and the 10,000 Buddha statues. If he could get those 2 Buddhist treasures, this life would be enough. Those 2 treasures are not just artifacts, but top-notch artifacts that integrate defense and attack. Who wouldn't want to get such an artifact? When Yuan and Mujukan flew to the center of the desert, they opened their eyes. Sure enough, there were countless powerful beings in the desert. Mujukan, do you feel that the atmosphere here is very messy? Yuan said. Ron Mujukan nodded and said, it's very messy. This was once the site of the 10,000 Buddhist temple, so it naturally has the power of the Buddha. This is also the world of gods, with divine power, the power of the stars. In the air of each realm, there are actually several kinds of power. The so-called divine realm only refers to the proportion of divine power that is greater than the divine realm. The fairy world and the spiritual world are the same. Yuan looked at the boundless desert and thought that the 10,000 Buddhist temple at that time must not be small. She said, it is so wide here, which shows that the 10,000 Buddhist temple was very prosperous at that time. It must have been destroyed because it was too prosperous. Mujukan sighed quietly. I have to say that Mujukan really found out the truth. Yuan, maybe. The world of monks is actually similar to the world of mortals. If you do better than others, all kinds of envy, jealousy, hatred, all kinds of calculations, and all kinds of tricks will be thrown at you. What's more, in the world of cultivating immortals, Taoism has always been respected. Who can tolerate sand in their eyes? Moreover, how can one mountain accommodate 2 tigers? Therefore, if Buddhist practice is equal to or surpasses Taoist practice, the consequences will be obvious. Let's go down and have a look. The 2 of them looked at the desert for a while, and Mujukan said, good. So the 2 held hands and escaped underground together. 1,000 feet underground, you can see some ores and ferocious underground beasts, but others have not been discovered yet. The 2 of them were hiding underground like this for a month. Yuan was really discouraged and her time was wasted. In addition to sand, stones and ores, not even a single fragment of the artifact was seen underground. Didn't it mean that there had been a war here? There is nothing there, just like an ordinary desert. Yuan also felt that their actions were very childish at this moment. If there was really something down there, it would have been taken away long ago. However, one visit made them give up. Wanner, let's take a look further down. If there's still nothing, we'll go back. Mujukan said, looking for an illusory thing here, it's better to think of another way. It's not just the 10,000 Buddha statues that can drive away evil spirits. If that doesn't work, go to the demon world and grab a few demons to out the demonic energy. Mujukan thinks this method is more reliable. At this time, somewhere deep in the desert, a spiritual consciousness followed Yuan and the 2 of them wandering in the desert. When the spiritual consciousness detected subtle fluctuations, it locked onto them. Yuan and the other 2 did not realize that there was a divine consciousness locked on them at all, and they were getting closer and closer to that divine consciousness. When they got very close, the spiritual consciousness could confirm that they were two invisible people like him. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 668. Chapter 668 10,000 Buddha's Temple. His consciousness could not suppress the excitement in his heart. After many years, he finally let him wait until someone came and someone approached. It's now. With a flash of consciousness, the two of them were sucked away. Yuan and Mujukan were flying among the sand and stones when suddenly a suction force that they could not resist sucked them away. It was too fast and too sudden, and Yuan had no chance to enter the space. It's like a breath of time, too late. The moment the two disappeared, Ming Ao also saw it in the desert. Although the two of them were invisible, Ming Ao's spiritual consciousness was enough to see them. The moment the two of them were sucked away, he was overjoyed. It must have been the 10,000 Buddha's temple that sucked them away. Only treasures like the 10,000 Buddha's temple can hide from the consciousness of the gods. The luck of these two people is really beyond words. Ming Ao immediately escaped underground to the place where the two disappeared. But he looked around and found nothing, so he had to wait there. Bang bang. Two noises, and the two of them fell onto a hard place. Just as the two fell down, a ball of golden light rushed into Mujukan's sea of consciousness with a whoosh. Huh? Divine Soul Artifact. The light ball flew out again immediately. At this time, the two of them stood up. Here it is. The two of them stood up and looked at this place in surprise, completely ignoring the ball of light. Needless to say, it was a ball of spirit that wanted to seize Mujukan. However, both of their souls were protected by divine weapons, and he couldn't take them away. This is actually a main hall, with a gleaming golden Maitreya Buddha standing above the main hall, with a smile on his face. In front of the Buddha statue was a palm-sized incense burner. There was no incense or ash on it. Yuan could tell that it was a sacred instrument. Mujukan, this should be the 10,000 Buddha's temple. Yuan pulled Mujukan over in surprise and pointed at the Buddha statue. Mujukan nodded, walked to the incense burner, and took the incense burner. Hey, put it down, you two little things are just like poor monks, don't you? At this moment, the ball of light immediately floated over and shouted. Why, you are a dead man and you still want to offer incense to the Buddha? Mujukan handed the incense burner to Guangtuan. It's a waste of words, even if the poor monk can't offer another stick of incense to the Buddha, you can't mess with the things in the temple that is disrespectful to the Buddha. We are not Buddhists, nor do we believe in Buddhism. We just took it and you kept making noises. Come on, let's settle the score for how you just took away my husband. Yuan slapped the soul. With a thought, he dodged Yuan's slap. Shenhun was so depressed that she thought the two of them had forgotten what happened just now. If you have something to say, you have something to say. The spirit immediately sued for peace. If it hadn't wanted to go out, it would have driven the two of them out. What did you say? Yuan raised her lips. Are you here to find the 10,000 Buddha statue? The spirit asked. It had been here for a long time and would always see many gods coming down to look for the 10,000 Buddha's temple. What do you think? What about the 10,000 Buddha statues? The Buddha statue in this hall is not the 10,000 Buddha statues at all. The statue of 10,000 Buddhas is naturally in the hall of 10,000 Buddhas, and the ancestor of 10,000 Buddhas is not worshipped here, Shenhun said. Oh, I believe you know where the 10,000 Buddha statues are. You want to tell us properly, then tell us your request. Do you want us to take you out, or help you find someone to seize the body? Yuan could tell that the soul was not strong. He probably woke up not long ago, otherwise he wouldn't be here now. I can't get through, and I can't leave here, Shenhun said, a little lonely. Why? Both of them looked at Shenhun strangely. Shenhun sighed. You must also know about the destruction of 10,000 Buddha's temple. Well, to be honest, We are here just for the 10,000 Buddha statues. Yuan nodded. Shenhun said, it is probably very difficult for you to find the 10,000 Buddha statue. At that time, the 10 great emperors of Tiandao sect suddenly came and besieged 10,000 Buddha's temple. That night, countless disciples of 10,000 Buddha's temple died in their hands, and countless artifacts were destroyed. Then there is no question whether the 10,000 Buddha statues are in the temple or not. At that time, when we saw the Buddha, we took 10,000 Buddha statues and fought with the gods. When the spirit talked about what happened that night, its voice became very heavy. It took a breath and said, although there were many disciples in Wanfo temple at that time, they could not withstand the strength of the God Emperor. Very few people survived that night. I am the guarding disciple of this temple. I cannot leave here without the Buddha's permission. I can only watch myself being killed. Fortunately, a ray of my soul was attached to the Buddha statue at that time, so I survived. It's just that I have been sleeping for too long to recover my soul, and tens of millions of years have passed since I woke up. Finally, I met two of you who are of low strength, and I can't even fight for them. Tiandao sect. The two heard a key word. It turns out that the 10,000 Buddha's temple was destroyed by the Tiandao sect. Isn't Ming-ao the leader of Tiandao sect? This Tiandao sect existed in ancient times, and there are 10 emperors. How powerful must this be? Yes, it's the Tiandao section. Buddhism was very popular at that time, and the Tiandao sect was probably worried that the Buddhist cultivation would become bigger in the future in the God realm. Yuan and Yuan looked at each other after hearing this. This was pretty much what they thought. Then do you know that your Buddha is still alive? The 10,000 Buddha's temple is here, so he must be here, right? Yuan asked. How else could the 10,000 Buddha's temple sink into the ground and be hidden here? Shenhun, she should still be alive. Our Buddha's Dharma is boundless. He fights 10 people alone. Tell me the important point, Yuan interrupted Shenhun. Shenhun, the 10,000 Buddha's temple and the 10,000 Buddha statue are actually the artifacts of the Buddha. The 10,000 Buddha's temple is hidden here. Our ancestor must be here, but even if he is here, you can't find him. Why? Because I can't go to other temples unless you go out and be taken in by the Buddha, or you can be taken to him. That's right, you should have told me earlier. After Yuan finished speaking, she pulled Mujukan into the space. I just heard that the soul said that it cannot go to other places, that is to say, it is prohibited by the Buddha, and the Buddha must be in the 10,000 Buddha's temple. Yuan knows that she must bring 10,000 Buddha's temple into the space first. If something unexpected happens, it will be more gain than loss. Yuan entered the space and immediately received the 10,000 Buddha's temple into the space. In the space, Yuan and Mujukan looked at the 10,000 Buddha's temple, which looked like a small temple. The three gleaming golden 10,000 Buddha's temple above the door indicate that this is the once glorious 10,000 Buddha's temple. The door of the 10,000 Buddha's temple was closed tightly, and the two men stepped forward to knock on the door of the 10,000 Buddha's temple. Offices. The 10,000 Buddha's temple was opened. Once the 10,000 Buddha's temple was opened, golden light shone brightly from inside. Two juniors are very capable, Amitba. Suddenly, a young bald monk appeared in the middle of the door. He was holding a Buddhist bead, his hands clasped together, and he looked at the two of them indifferently. The two of them were speechless. Is this the 10,000 Buddhas? So young and so handsome. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 669. Chapter 669, Hasty. Yuan's mouth was almost watering. Mujukan's face darkened. Is this bald monk better looking than him? He stretched out his hand to fish Yuan over and pressed her head on his chest. After the matter is settled, he wants her to see whether she can see enough of him or the whole body. He just glanced at the monk in the golden light. He had to say that this monk did have a consciousness that made people not want to look away. Wanfo looked at the two people in front of him without sadness or joy, but his heart was filled with turmoil. In his consciousness, 10,000 Buddha's temple was no longer under the desert, but in a living space. Are you 10,000 Buddhas? Mujukin tried to ask. 10,000 Buddhas, Amitabha, this is the poor monk. Are the two donors looking for the 10,000 Buddha statue? Hearing about the statue of 10,000 Buddhas, Yuan got out of Mujukin's arms and looked at 10,000 Buddhas. Can the sacred monk lend it to us? Wan Buddha glanced at this bold little fairy and said, Donor, are you sure you can use it if you borrow it? Well. Yuan choked, and she and Mujukin looked at each other. It seemed that they had never thought about this problem. How could they use someone else's magical weapon? What I thought before was that if they were really lucky to find the 10,000 Buddha statues, they would just take it and leave without thinking that the owner of the 10,000 Buddha statues was still alive. And their Taoist cultivators can use Buddhist artifacts? Haha, that's sloppy. Yuan broke free from Mujukin's shackles, walked up to 10,000 Buddhas, bowed and said, Holy monk, we came to find the 10,000 Buddha statue. In fact, we really didn't think that much, and we didn't even think that we could actually find it. But the matter is urgent. I had to try my luck. Baisha realm has been plagued by demons. There is no one among the 10,000 realms. Now it can be said to be a demon realm. We thought that 10,000 Buddha statues can purify the demonic energy, so we came here. So, can the divine monk help Baisha realm? Since they couldn't use the 10,000 Buddha statue, they had to ask for help. When asking for help, they should have the attitude of asking for help. Yuan told Wanfo about the matter. Let's take a look at the meaning of 10,000 Buddhas. Wanfo frowned slightly after hearing this, but he looked so good even when he frowned. Yuan was stunned again. But 10,000 Buddhas didn't care at all about Yuan's nymphomaniac appearance. He just asked lightly, what about the devil? Destroyed, Mujukin said, and after saying that, he pulled Yuan. He really wanted to slap her on the twice. This was serious business. 10,000 Buddhas looked at the two of them with deep eyes. Were they destroyed? That's a demon, and he can't even destroy him. From what Xiao Xiu said, they should be the ones to destroy him. How can this be? His contribution to sealing the demon god was attributable to him, as well as that of the turbid god. These two caused harm to many people in ancient times. Now he came out to cause trouble again, but the demon was actually destroyed, which shocked him. The mind of 10,000 Buddhas is like a small boat in the sea, ups and downs. What about the turbid god? Zhou what Zhou? Yuan and Mujukin were confused. Oh, is it that evil thing? Yuan suddenly remembered the thing sealed in the Donghuang secret realm. Yes, Wanfo nodded. Is it really the Zhou? It's still sealed. Does the holy monk know about it? Yuan didn't expect that thing to be the Zhou. Her father didn't even know it, but the monk knew it. Could it be that he sealed it? As if knowing what Yuan was thinking, 10,000 Buddhas said, that was sealed by the poor monk. Sure enough, Yuan's eyes were filled with stars. This monk was prone to disaster. Let's go back first. Mujukin held his forehead. His wife was acting very strangely today. This monk was at least a little prettier than him, almost the same as Rongxiu. She is not so infatuated with Rongxiu. This monk is very evil. Mujukin pressed Yuan's head on his chest again, said something, picked her up and returned to the palace. Wanfo watched the two people leave meaningfully. He disappeared in a flash and closed the temple door at the same time. In the palace, Mujukin put Yuan down. He came closer to her and looked at her dangerously. Is that monk good looking? All right, not bad. As soon as Yuan finished speaking, Mujukan blocked her lips. After all that, Yuan was so tired that she lay on Mujukan and fell asleep. Before falling asleep, she scolded Mujukan severely. There is no way to punish her like this. Mujukan had a smile on his lips, but a cold light flashed in his eyes. In the 10,000 Buddhist temple, a man emerged from a 1-foot-tall Buddha statue. This person was none other than 10,000 Buddhas. He sat in front of the Buddha statue, closed his eyes, and muttered something in his mouth. His spirit is still too weak. The little punishment he had just given to the little fairy had consumed a lot of his soul power, and he had to enter the Buddha statue to absorb some of the Buddha's power. There is not much Buddha power in the Buddha statue. Since the 10,000 Buddhas temple was destroyed, the Buddha statue cannot absorb the Buddha power. It is a little used. If it is not replenished, it will be difficult for him to recover. Thinking of that battle, Wan Buddha felt uneasy. He fought against the 10 emperors with one person. He lost, but the 10 people were not as good. Thinking of the 4 souls of the god emperor imprisoned in Wanfo temple, Wanfo's eyes flashed with cruelty. If it was really hard for him to recover, he wouldn't mind refining those 4 souls. For so many years, he has not been refining to restore his soul. Although Buddhists are not allowed to kill, when his life is not guaranteed, who cares so much? If I don't go to hell, who will? He also thought about one day going to Tiandao sect to avenge the vengeance of his disciples from 10,000 Buddhist temple. Wanfo temple practiced uprightly, never causing trouble, never killing innocent people indiscriminately, and in the end, the family was wiped out. Tiandao sect, a sect that deceives the world and steals its reputation, only allows state officials to set fires but does not allow people to light lamps. Sooner or later, he will take revenge. Wanfo chanted Amitabha countless times before he calmed down. He looked at Yuan's palace. Maybe she was his opportunity. Yuan only woke up the next day. Looking at Mujukan who was looking at her next to her, she pinched his waist hard. Hiss, Waner is going to murder her husband, Mujukan grinned in pain. Waner really pinched her. He endured the pain and restrained her. She still had the strength, so let her lose it. It wasn't until Yuan begged for mercy that Mujukan was in a good mood to let her go. There are still a lot of things waiting for them outside, otherwise, Yuan glanced at him, wondering if he was jealous, so she looked at the monk a few more times. Thinking of the monk and the fact that their matters had not yet been settled, she got up and put on her clothes, and then grabbed Mujukan. When the couple arrived at the door of the 10,000 Buddhas temple, the 10,000 Buddhas were already waiting there, so there was no need to knock on the door. Can the holy monk come out? Yuan was very uncomfortable with this way of talking. One person was at the door and the other 2 were standing outside. Okay, Wanfo nodded. Yuan led Mujukan to the Enlightenment tea, and 10,000 Buddhas followed closely. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 670. Chapter 670 10,000 Buddha statues. The 3 of them sat down. 10,000 Buddhas looked at this place and took a deep breath of the fairy air in the space. Have soul power? Wan Buddha took another deep breath. Yes, he did have soul power. He was overjoyed. He was in a divine soul state, and what he needed most was soul power. The Buddha's power was restored to his cultivation level, and his soul power was restored to his soul. If he tried both, he didn't believe he couldn't recover. 10,000 Buddhas started searching in the space. When he saw the restriction on the soul mountain, he was really surprised beyond words. But he didn't show it at all on his face. He always looked like an eminent monk from the outside world. Yuan handed a cup of hot tea to the 10,000 Buddhas and said, "Senior monk, please." 10,000 Buddhas nodded. He picked up the teacup and took a deep sip of the tea. This sip made his soul clear, and the chaos in his soul was immediately eliminated, and his soul also solidified a little. This tea really lived up to its reputation as a tea for enlightenment. Even though his soul was injured in the past, he is still in a soul body now. The soul is much stronger than the two immortals in front of him. This enlightenment tea also has a refreshing effect on his soul. Good tea, the donor has a lot of good things, Yuan Buddha praised. If the divine monk can help, there is a place in my space that is very suitable for the divine monk, Yuan said with a smile. Haha, the donor is really compassionate. What is compassion and not compassion? I have relatives who have been demonized. It is difficult to find them for a while. I can only seek help from the divine monks. The divine monks are the ones who are compassionate, sympathize with the common people, and save all sentient beings. Amitabha. The poor monk has been taught. Almsgiver, let's set off 10,000 Buddhas smiled bitterly in their hearts. This little fairy had a bad mouth, as if he was no longer a divine monk if he didn't save people. For their Buddhist practice, the purpose is to refrain from doing any evil, practice all good deeds, and purify their minds. In fact, there was no need for Yuan to tell him the conditions, and he would not just sit idly by and just want to ask for some benefits. Buddhist cultivators are also human beings and monks, and they also need cultivation resources, not to mention that his soul is seriously damaged. At that time, if he had not given up his body, he would not have been able to save his soul, so he had no choice but to attach his soul to his artifact, the 10,000 Buddha statue. Then he used the remaining soul to sink the 10,000 Buddha's temple underground and keep it hidden. The soul of the divine monk is not very stable, so go to the soul mountain to meditate first. Yuan heard what he said, which meant she agreed, but the souls of the 10,000 Buddhas were still unstable and seemed to be dispersed at any time. She thought that it would be better for him to go to Soul Mountain to practice and stabilize the souls first. Don't fall short when casting a spell. Wanfo was stunned for a moment. He immediately stood up and saluted Yuan. Amitabha, thank you so much, donor. No thanks, no thanks, the two jumped away immediately. The holy monk saluted them, but they couldn't bear it. 10,000 Buddhas. Is he scary? Yuan, no, they don't dare to blaspheme the gods and Buddhas, and if they accept the rights of the gods and Buddhas, their lifespan will be shortened. Yuan waved her hand to open the barrier on Soul Mountain, and 10,000 Buddhas immediately flew away. After 10,000 Buddhas flew in, the restriction was closed. He breathed in the soul power on the Soul Mountain, and his soul couldn't help but tremble. This soul power was too strong. As long as he meditated here for a day, his soul would be able to stabilize. Don't worry about it disappearing at any time. 10 days later, Yuan returned to Baishuja Shrine. Wire really found the 10,000 Buddha statues. Tianyan and Yaoji were surprised. Yes, Yuan nodded, waved his hand, and Wanfo and Mujukan came out together. I've seen the divine monk. Tianyan and Yaoji immediately greeted him. Like Yuan, they were both surprised. They didn't expect that the 10,000 Buddha's divine monk was such a handsome man. If this is a Taoist cultivator, I am afraid that the goddesses will rob it. Maybe he started practicing Buddhism just to avoid women. After all, there are very few female cultivators who find Buddhist cultivators as Taoist companions, let alone Buddhist cultivators who abstain from sexual with women. Amitabha, the Lord God and the Queen of Gods don't have to be polite. The poor monk is just a soul now. 10,000 Buddhas couldn't bear the great gift from the Lord God and the Queen of Gods, so he put his hands together and returned the gift. In the past, his cultivation level could be on par with Tianyan, or even surpassed it. Now, he is equivalent to the strength of the Earth God, and he really can't afford it. No problem, please take a seat. Holy monk Tianyan still treated each other with courtesy. When everyone was and Buddha, he was not born yet. After 10,000 Buddhas sat down, Yuan and Mujukan sat down one after another. This time, we have to worry about the affairs of Tianxia realm. After sitting down, Tianyan said directly that the situation in Tianxia realm is very bad now, and it is urgent to get rid of the evil spirit. They tried all kinds of methods, but to no avail. Many people were infiltrated by evil spirits because of this. Fortunately, it was not serious and they could be exorcised by themselves. Amitabha, the cause of the past will be the result of today. I will do my best. The devil was not completely eliminated back then, so he was allowed to run out and do evil in the world of immortality. It was they who planted the cause, and the effect was his. Perhaps this is God's will. Without the cause that was planted back then, he would not have seen the light of day again because of this. Then, holy monk, let's go now. Okay, Wan Fo nodded. In Yuan's space, his soul has been stabilized and has grown a lot. There is still no problem in absorbing the demonic energy. What's more, after the demonic energy is refined, it can be transformed into Buddha power, because there are 108 Buddha relics in his 10,000 Buddha statues. After the demonic energy is purified, it will be the Buddha's power, which he needs. As long as the demonic energy in this world is collected and converted into Buddhist power, his cultivation level can be restored to at least half of its previous state. A group of people immediately came out of the shrine and flew to the top of the shrine. Wan Buddha raised his hand, and the shining golden Buddha statue appeared in his hand. This is the first time for everyone to see these 10,000 Buddha statues. The 10,000 Buddha statue is about a foot tall and has thick arms. It looks like a middle-aged 10,000 Buddhas. Yuan twitched her lips and refined the artifact to look like herself, fearing that there would only be 10,000 Buddhas in the world. I saw 10,000 Buddhas moving toward the 10,000 Buddha statues. The 10,000 Buddha statues instantly grew in size, then slowly rotated and flew into the sky, and their whole bodies immediately glowed with golden light. When it stopped, the statue of 10,000 Buddhas was 10 feet tall, and the golden light from its whole body radiated towards the divine world. It is dazzling, and extremely solemn. You can still faintly hear the voice of the monk reciting scriptures. It's awe-inspiring. It also calms down the impetuous mind. At this time, the black demonic energy in the God realm swarmed in as if summoned by the 10,000 Buddha statues. Everyone stared blankly as the helpless evil energy was so easily absorbed by the 10,000 Buddha statue. The strangeness here immediately alarmed the people in the God realm. Everyone flew up into the air and looked at the 10,000 Buddha statues with their whole bodies shining brightly. It's the Buddha statue absorbing the evil energy, everyone exclaimed. The world of gods is saved. Everyone is saved. While exclaiming, the gods also cheered. After cheering, everyone stared at the 10,000 Buddha statues devoutly, feeling grateful in their hearts. Also worshipped in my heart. Wan Buddha looked at the scene and was deeply moved. He had not seen gods worshipping and respecting Buddha for a long time. End of this chapter.